Well, thank you very much. Yes, indeed, this is a result of a partnership that we did with UNDESA and UNEP, but it's a partnership with all the women and the different organizations that you're going to be able to see and visit in this different modality of doing partnership. What you see here reflected are years and years of working together, of talking, of finding ways of coming together when it comes to the promotion of gender. So gender equality and the structural reform and changes associated with it requires leveraging effective partnerships that can act with and across the institutions. And today, we're going to showcase how those partnerships have been built among national stakeholders, women groups, academia, UN agencies, and those in the international development community. The lack of implementation of gender policies is one of the most serious threats for sustainable development. And we really think that the value of partnerships, now that we're here in Rio, brings an invaluable opportunity to regenerate, revitalize, and strengthen actions on the ground on gender equality through multi-stakeholder partnerships. Gender equality is too complicated sometimes to go just alone as a single institution. And the idea to showcase today is how when we come together, when we join efforts, academia, NGOs, international organizations, we can break through the importance of mainstream gender in our work. But also, you have to understand that some of the gender focal points in the institutions, we tend to be lonely rangers. I used to remember when IUCN office was called the gender unit, and I said, yes, because I'm one. That's the reason that it is the gender unit. So partnerships are vital for us to work together. We have reduced budgets. We have reduced staff to work with. But it is through the alliances and through new type of alliances that we can promote gender. But also, for us, gender focal points in a lot of the institutions, or those institutions that are leading on gender, the value of partnerships also is for the good times and the bad times. When you're working on gender equality, it's not always easy to break through. And in certain areas like environment, it's even more complicated because sometimes who we're talking to are talking about birds and monkeys and trees. And when you want to bring the social human face and make it gender sensitive, it even becomes more complicated. But we also have to challenge when we work on gender issues. The partnerships that we want are not the typical type of partnerships. We want non-patriarchal, that are based on different type of principles: trust, diversity, respect for personal lives. We don't want the typical type of partnerships that can be raised. So why have we chosen the different topics that you see here? Because we think that to all of them, gender counts, and gender does make a difference. And let me just choose some of them, because you're going to have the possibility of visiting the rest. So, as we heard, agriculture. Women account for 43% of the agriculture workforce, yet only 5% of them have access to extension services, 2 access to land tenure, and 1 access to credit. If women had the same access to productive resources as men, they could increase the yields to 20 to 30%, but the most important one, we can reduce the number of hungry people in the world by 12 to 17%, just by giving women the same amount of access to agricultural services. But also, women biodiversity knowledge when it comes to agriculture is fundamental. It's not only about the quantity, but also about the quality. And women knowledge when it comes to biodiversity tends to be different than that of men. And some of the products and the biodiversity that women manage is fundamental for the development of the children from 0 to 5 years. Very fast. Look, for example, if you compare cabbage with some of the other products that women have in their hand, amaranth, cleone, nightshell. You just look at beta-carotene. If you compare cabbage, 100 versus 10,452 per 100 grams. So that means that the value of the plants is not only on the quantity, but also on the quality. Look at disasters. London School of Economics made a study and they found out that in 141 countries, in those countries when the gender gaps were bigger, more women than men died. The ratio 4:1. And if you look at the trends of disasters, how they have gone in 1975 to 2006, from 150 to 450, that makes us think. Or what happened in 2007, where there more than 960 major disasters happened in the world. So if the ratio of that is 4:1, what does that mean? Or even when you look at the data of 1970 and 2010, where there has been an increase, for example, of 114% the number of floods in which people are exposed every year. Water. During the dry season, 30% of women's daily energy intake is spent just in fetching water. And family of 5 needs around 100 liters of water to meet minimum needs. And this weight is carried in the backs and in the heads of the women. And a World Bank review of 121 rural water supply projects did found out that in those projects in which women were fully engaged, they were more effective and more efficient than any of the other programs. So we also need to build the future. The best way to predict the future is to create it. And we think that we also need to measure progress. And when you go to the hub and you're going to talk in the different parts, we're also going to ask you to think about indicators. We're talking about sustainable development new goals. And I'm just going to share with you as IUCN what we came to propose here in Rio. And is the creation and to introduce you the Environmental Gender Index. The AGI is an innovative new tool developed by IUCN to monitor progress toward gender equality and women's empowerment in the use of global environmental governance. And we hope that this is going to culminate a process of mainstreaming gender in the Rio Conventions and in the major sectors over the past 2 decades. But it's going to provide us quantitative data and information on how the governments are transforming what they have agreed into what they're really doing. So in the light of the partnerships, we really would like to call as many institutions, academia, UN agency, to partner with us in the putting out of this gender environmental index, which is going to have 2 streams, basically. How are the policies at the country level being implemented and how gender responsive they are, and how is women participation in decision making. And for example, a little button, as we say in Latin America. That's the lands feeding on dry lands. All of them are men. None of them are women representing the environmental sector. So, sorry. Sometimes I get off with the technology. So we hope that the Gender Environmental Index is going to support institutions to be more accountable to the gender equality in the context of environmental actions, and it can help us guide the future and build the future that we want to build. So thank you very much.